Hi guys, Deanne here from Canada Abroad, and thanks so much for tuning in. Today we finally have news on the express entry targeted draws that they are going to be conducting. So we're going to go over which categories they are going to be picking through the targeted draws and how they're going to do this. So first of all, they did say they will continue to pick provincial nominees through provincial nominee specific draws through the year. And then they gave us the different industries that they are going to be picking for those express entry targeted draws. So the categories that they're going to be looking at are those individuals who are fluent in French. So they're going to be looking for people who have proficiency in French and have done an approved French test, and it is on their express entry profile. People with work experience in the healthcare field, people with experience in the STEM field, so science, technology, engineering, and math, people in trades occupations, people in transportation occupations, and agriculture and agri-food occupations. Now, each of those categories has its own specific requirements. So we're going to go through the different categories and break down the requirements that they're looking for so that you can be included in one of those targeted draws. Now, what they did say is if you meet the criteria of the targeted draw, they are still going to use your score to dictate who gets an invitation to apply. So if there's too many people who met the criteria for that draw, they're going to pick people with the highest comprehensive ranking system score and then work their way down based on the number of invitations to apply that they have for that round. So first, if you are going to be considered for the targeted draws for French-speaking individuals, so if you want to be picked, you need to have an approved French test that is valid and on your express entry profile. And it just says you need to have a minimum score of 7 in all 4 sections of that test. And then meet all the requirements for that round. So as an example, your comprehensive ranking system score being within the range that they pick. Now, to be picked in the healthcare occupations targeted draws, you need to have a minimum of 6 months of full-time paid work experience in the past 3 years, either in Canada or abroad in one of the approved occupation codes. Now, that 6 months of work experience has to have been continuous. So you couldn't have 3 months, then a break of 2 months, and then another 3 months. They want 6 months of continuous work experience in the past 3 years. Now for the occupations, I'm just going to read them off to you because there are quite a few. So there's audiologist and speech language pathologist, chiropractors, dentists, dietitians, nutritionists, education counselors, general practitioners and family physicians, instructors of persons with disabilities, kinesiologists and other professionals and occupations in therapy and assessment, licensed practical nurses, massage therapists, medical laboratory assistants and related technical occupations, medical laboratory technologists, medical radiation technologists, medical sonographers, nurse aides, orderlies, and patient service associates, nurse practitioners, nursing coordinators and supervisors, occupational therapists, optometrists, other assisting occupations in support of health services, other practitioners of natural healing, other professional occupations in health diagnosing and treatment, other technical occupations in therapy and assessment, paramedic occupations, pharmacy technician, technical assistants and pharmacy assistants, physician assistants, midwives and allied health professionals, physiotherapists, psychologists, registered nurses, registered psychiatric nurses, respiratory therapists, clinical perfusionists and cardiopulmonary technologists, specialists in clinical and laboratory medicine, specialists in surgery, therapists in counseling and related specialized therapies, and then traditional Chinese medicine practitioners and acupuncturists, and finally, veterinarians. Now, those are the occupation codes. So under those, there could be other job titles. So you'll have to go look at the occupation code itself and then see if you're included in that or not. So again, title is part of it, but the main duties associated with the code is the main thing that you want to be looking at. Next, we're going to be looking at the requirements to be picked through the STEM targeted occupation draws. And for this one, you again have to have at least 6 months of continuous full-time paid work experience in the past 3 years, either in Canada or abroad, in one single occupation listed below. So there's architects, architecture and science managers, business system analysts, civil engineers, computer and information system managers, computer engineers, computer systems developers and programmers, cybersecurity specialists, data scientists, database analysts and data administrators, electrical and electronics engineers, engineering managers, industrial and manufacturing engineers, information system specialists, land surveyors, landscape architects, mathematicians, statisticians and actuaries, metallurgical and materials engineers, natural and applied science and policy researchers, consultants and program officers, software developers and programmers, software engineers and designers, urban and land use planners, web designers, web developers, and programmers. So remember, you have to have 6 months of continuous full-time paid work experience in one of those NOC codes. If you have 6 months in one and 6 months in a second, that's fine, but you can't have 6 months of continuous work with it split between 2 different NOC codes. Next, we're going to be looking at the specifics to be chosen through the targeted draws for tradespeople. For this one, they want to see that, again, you have 6 months of full-time paid continuous work experience in the past 3 years, either in Canada or abroad, and that work experience has to be in one of the following NOC codes. So there's residential and commercial installers and servicers, elevator constructors and mechanics, machine fitters, heating, refrigeration, and air conditioning mechanics, construction millwrights and industrial mechanics, carpenters, plumbers, electricians, welders and related machine operators, contractors and supervisors, and other construction trade installers, repairers, and servicers. So again, you would look at the NOC code for each of those and see if it's a fit. There's other job titles that always fall under these NOC codes as well. But again, just look at the main duties to see if it is the correct fit for you and your work experience. Next, we're going to be looking at the criteria for the transportation occupations. So for this one, again, you're going to need 6 months of continuous full-time paid work experience in one of the NOC codes on the list. And that work experience, again, in the last 3 years, and it can be inside of Canada or abroad. So they're looking for aircraft assemblers and aircraft assembly inspectors, transport truck drivers, railway traffic controllers and marine traffic regulators, engineer officers, water transport, deck officers in water transport, air traffic controllers and related occupations, air pilots, flight engineers and flying instructors, aircraft mechanics and aircraft inspectors, railway carmen or women, and managers in transportation. And next, we're going to look at the requirements for the agriculture specific draws. So for this one, again, you need to have at least 6 months of continuous full-time paid work experience in the past 3 years in Canada or abroad. And that work experience has to be in one of the following NOC codes: contractors and supervisors in landscaping, ground maintenance, and horticulture services, agriculture service contractors and farm supervisors, or butcher in either a retail or a wholesale setting. Now for each category, they also said that there's going to be further full instructions included in each draw that they do. So you'll have to pay attention to that fine print. There might be something saying that you need to have met regulatory requirements in order to be eligible, or your credentials might have had to have been assessed by a specific organization in Canada. We don't know those details yet. So just make sure when they do the targeted draws that you read all of the criteria carefully, and that will show whether you met the eligibility or not for that specific draw. So thank you guys, as always, for tuning in. And as more details come out and we see these targeted draws in action, we will bring you those details. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel and click on alerts so you're notified when we bring you those updates.